right, let's go. We're going live.
Keeping it together.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you dealing with my technical errors. Hey there, what do you say there, world? Welcome back to what's going to be the best episode we have ever done. And if you're here now, this is history in the making. My name is Justin, season 27, and I am joined by an elite panel of one idiot, Joey Cavino, my my doctor friend and extraordinary racer, James Earl Corley.
Hi.
And balancing us out completely, gold medalist Jen Hudak. How are you? And of course,
before you go any further,
yes.
Can someone confirm this? Because I'm looking at something where it's not like very well be in the wrong place.
You might.
It's on. It's rolling.
It's definitely rolling.
Back to you, Justin.
I'm like, I just confirmed it. It's probably a separate room because a separate broadcast started. So it might have to go back to the channel and just go to the live broadcast. This chat is talking. Everybody's here. All right, so let's welcome our guest. Let's go with the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, a fellow New Yorker who graduated from the Fashion Institute of Technology, who's produced Oprah's Big Give, Take the Money and Run, Focus Rally America, Profiles on the Front Line, The Great Escape, Race to the Center of the Earth, Escape Routes, The Quest, the creator of The Amazing Race, which is seen in over 120 countries, has spawned 14 international versions, 10-time Emmy Award winner, the incredible Elise Doganieri. How are you?
I'm great. Wow, that was quite an introduction. Thank you for having me, Justin. I'm so glad we were able to do this. Super excited for today.
My crew said that before we announced it, I had to confirm at least 3 times because if we announced it and you didn't show up, they were not going to show up either. So I'm glad that you showed.
I would never.
That's how big of a deal you are, though, Elise. Like the community has lost their mind when they heard you were going to be on the show.
I'm so I'm really honored by that. I just had no idea. So it's really special. It makes me super happy to be here, and hope it's the first of more to come. Actually,
you got a bigger picture than me on the page, so I was a little. I had to check my contract for that. So
I was like poster size.
Yeah, we all moved. I had to move everybody over to get you so people could see you on the thumbnail.
Oh my god!
All right. So there's a million. We got over 100 questions from Facebook and Reddit and Twitter and everywhere, but we'll get to those later. There's a couple things that I want to get to from the show as well. First off, did you know that Monet has a painting called La Casa de Doganieri Verengevole?
Wow. Okay. I did not know Monet did one, but my family is, my dad and his father all came from Italy, and they came from Campobasso. And there is a place with that painting. I've seen that painting. It's a little house on a hill. And did you know that Doganieri means customs person? Dogana is the person who checks your passport. So how fitting is that all I do is travel and go through customs all the time.
It's like you're destined for this.
That's funny.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
The painting, it's the house of a customs officer in Verengevole. So I think it's worth like $9 to $10 million. So when Bertram really messes up, tell him this is the gift that he needs to give you, the original Monet painting. So the most obvious questions, we'll get to some of those. And by doing research, I watched that 4-hour interview that you did with like the Archive Association with you and Bertram. So that they literally answered almost every question that I've had.
I look like Elvira in that video. I wish.
That's so funny. I was telling Diana that your eyes are absolutely incredible because it's got this like nice dark around it, but it makes your green just pop. I was like, what's different?
Thank you. I didn't look at it that way. I had like this, my hair looked super dark and I had like red lipstick, and I was like, wow, they had makeup people there, but it was a look at the time, I guess. It's a while ago, isn't it? It's gotta be.
That was 2013, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But it was good they did that because they did that interview with Bertram separately, me separately, and then us, the two of us together. And it was really good to get all of that out and, archived for, history.
Any fans out there, I will post this link in the description. If you want to know anything about The Amazing Race, every question that you've asked on the fan page is literally answered in this interview. I will post it there, but we'll get to all the good stuff here as well. Is there anything that you guys want to get to before I go through the barrage of questions?
I mean, I've heard the story before, but I'm sure a lot of fans haven't, about the kind of inception of the race.
Yeah.
The conversation between you and Bertram and how that all came about.
Yeah. Okay. I always think everybody has heard this, but probably not. So when I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City to study graphic design and advertising, and maybe I'm going back way too far, but anyway, I met Bertram in New York City. He was filming a pilot in New York, and I had started a graphic design business. We met, we fell in love in 1995. I moved to Los Angeles to be with him. We were about to get married, and he had gone on a trip to MIPCOM in France. It's like a television conference where people talk about new shows. And he came back, and I was working at an agency called DDB Needham and then Ogilvy and Mather for doing advertising when I moved here. And I said to Bert, what's going on in television? Anything new out there? And he's like, yeah, not really, nothing special. And this was 2000. And I was like, what is wrong with you people in television? You guys can't come up with a TV show and, put something good on. I said, there's nothing that I want to watch on television. And he's like, oh, you think it's so easy? You think it's so easy to come up with a TV show? Why don't you come up with one? And I said, fine, I will. Because I'm just like this, being sarcastic New Yorker, and he was like, I'll give you 5 minutes. And honestly, I took the challenge, but the first thing that popped into my mind was a backpacking trip I took with my college roommate, Lori Casey. When I graduated college, we went backpacking through Europe. We had like giant backpacks. I had a Eurail pass. I had $1,000 for 6 weeks. And we went through highs and lows on that trip. We took the train everywhere. We slept on the train. We slept in hostels. We ate chocolate bread and drank wine all the time. But we had the most incredible adventure because we met so many people on the way in different countries. We got invited into people's homes for dinner. And it just opened up the world to me. My parents had bought me the flight from JFK to Madrid as my graduation present on TWA. And that was in 1990. And we went backpacking around, and 2 weeks into the trip, we were getting along great. I was the one that had the Let's Go Europe book. And I was like, we're going to go here, and I had everything planned out. I was very organized. I think I drove Lori crazy because she just wanted to let's just see what we want to do today. And I was like, no, we've got to go here, 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 and here. And one day she woke up, we were supposed to go to the Vatican with some people we had met, some guys we met on the train. And it was like 8 a.m. I was like, we got to go. We got to be there before at the front of the line. And she's like, she wakes up and she's like, this is not Chevy Chase's European vacation. And I can't do this every day. You need to calm down. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. So anyway, long story short, that experience popped into my mind. And I said to Bertram, what if we put people who know each other on a trip around the world, and they've got to go to different countries and do things that the locals do that might be, fish out of water for an American. And I said, we can start in the US and go around the world and give them very little money, and they won't speak the language. And, I just had all these ideas that popped into my mind. And he said, I like that idea. Why don't you write it up and, let's see if we can pitch it to a network. So because my background was in graphic design, I made this beautiful presentation. I wrote up, how the show would be and where we would go, and put all these passports on the front cover, and pitched it to NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC. And when CBS heard the pitch, it was actually Gen Maynard heard it first. He loved the idea and then brought it all the way up to Les Moonves, who was there at the time. And it was sold in the room, which doesn't happen ever. And I remember Bertram, I didn't get to go to that meeting. And Bertram came to my office because I was working at the ad agency. And he called me up. He's like, meet me downstairs. And he goes, I just sold the show to CBS. And I was like, what? I don't even know what that means. I was like, should I quit my job? He's like, no, don't quit your job. It's television. we don't even know if it's actually going to get on the air. So I remember the first season we went scouting and we filmed. I took a leave of absence from my job because I had a really nice job at Ogilvy and Mather. And after the first season, it took a while before we got the pickup, and then we got the pickup, and I said, Bert, should I quit my job? He's like, yeah, I think you should quit your job now. We should do this full time. So that was a very long story, but that's how it all happened.
But it's such a great story. Like, I feel like not a lot of people, I think like the real fanatics know that story, but not everyone does. And it's such a great story.
You just kept the chat room completely silent, except for, oh my God, this is incredible. This is incredible.
Oh, I love that.
And Aaron and Arun, I'm sorry, Will and James, a bunch of the racers are here and they saying hi.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm talking through a psychic right now because I can't see them. Please tell them I say hello.
Yes,
they're in the room.
What's her name from Ghost? I'm Oda Mae Brown.
Yeah, exactly. Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze. And it's funny because a lot of people, when we sold the show, they said, one of the reasons I think you were able to come up with an idea like that is because you weren't really in television before that. So you didn't know what the limitations might be. A lot of people try to come up with ideas, but they already put all these limitations like, oh, that can't be done. That can't be done. But Bertram Bertram has been in the business forever. I wouldn't even say how many years, longer than I am old. So he had worked for National Geographic. He had done the TV show Cops for a long time. He traveled all over Africa and Asia and had made contacts all of his life since the 60s. He was born in Holland. So he did 1,000 commercials. He had a commercial business. Then he traveled all over the world, meeting people, talking to embassies. And he had really set up a network of people on a global scale that he knew. When I said this idea, he said, I already have all those people. I already know where we can go. I know who to call in India. I know who to call anywhere in Asia, Africa, South America. So, it was the perfect combination. To be honest, I had the idea and he had all the context and the experience to do a show like this. And that is one thing that, when CBS heard the pitch, they said the only person that we think could do this would be you, Bertram Van Munster. And so it just worked, and that was we sold the show in June of 2000. And look, this is season 34 now. So here we are, over 20 years later.
That's absolutely incredible for any show to last that long. Never mind one that's been as awarded as this one, and continues to do new things, but still holds true to what the race originally was when it first aired. So that's really cool. It doesn't have to have 700 twists like Survivor now. Every season there's got to be 700 million different things because they got to keep it interesting. This, you could just put normal people, put them on a race, and it's interesting. And you guys always fun.
Normal people. Yeah, because we're all so interesting. There's so many people that are amazing and their backgrounds and their stories. And if we can tell those stories and show those relationships, it's very relatable when you watch these people on television because they're just like you and I.
Absolutely. And of course, people see some of these people have these incredible stories, but these are the type of people whose stories need to be told to this season. There's so many Akbar and Sherry are just normal people who are doing extraordinary things. They're helping thousands of people in their community and they weren't Oprah and Ellen, but they're just normal teachers who are doing extraordinary things. And I think that's one of the great things that the race does. It highlights these normal people who do extraordinary things. So obviously I've done a ton of research this week for the guests, and I heard that you dabbled in TV when you were in high school with the Media Club. So I reached out to your friend.
He dives deep, Elise. Buckle up. He dives real deep.
Oh my gosh!
I reached out to your friend Margaret McHugh. She didn't have any video, unfortunately. I was trying to find. She was like, "If I do, it's on VHS, but I can't find it." But she shared one of her favorite memories. And before I share that with you, is there any of your favorite memories from the times that you had?
I'm starting to sweat, Justin. I'm just like, whoa, nobody knows about that. Yes, I was in the Media Club, and Margaret remembers the story. She's still one of my very best friends. We've known each other. I graduated high school in 1985. Okay, you guys probably weren't even born yet. So Margaret and I have been
driving.
Margaret McHugh. She had a Volkswagen Bug in high school, and I had a 1971 Buick Skylark, and we used to race to school together. But the media club, I think there were like 4 of us, and it was VHS, and it was a giant camera. And we grew up in Port Jefferson Station, and there was a little village on the water called Port Jefferson, and we would go with like the 2 guys were the camera guys, and Margaret and I were like the roving reporters. And honestly, we would just make stuff up. We would be like, I'm standing in front of the Port Jeff Ferry, and we would talk about Port Jefferson, where we grew up, and the ferry and all the restaurants. But I would love to hear what Margaret said, because I don't know, but we did that for a little while.
She said that the crew hated you guys because you two could never keep a straight face during tapings and were constantly laughing and making other people laugh. Her favorite memory was schmoozing your way into the Queen Elizabeth II ocean liner when it was docked in Port Jefferson. And a very interesting fact is Diana's grandmother was on that ship. That's how she got here.
That's amazing. Yeah, Margaret and I, we were like the dynamic duo, and we laughed at everything. We were like 2 peas in a pod, and we never took ourselves seriously, and probably that's why the crew didn't like us. I'm much better behind the camera. But I really enjoyed that time. I'll never forget it. I would love to see the VHS tape of that, because 80s hair, who knows what that.
You got hairspray for days.
She said she was going to reach out to somebody who may have it, but she didn't get back to me in time for it to air live. But she said that I think her daughter are going to be in chat at some point today. I don't know if they're here, but
her son.
Sorry.
I would love that. She tried to call me, and I was wondering what was up.
She's like, some weirdo reached out to me.
She's like, call me. I would love to catch up. Yeah. Okay, Margaret.
Out of the blue. Yeah. Okay. Let's get into some of the stuff.
You're scaring me. You're like a private detective. That goes way back.
You didn't know what you're signing up for, did you?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I was in radio for 15 years as an executive producer and a co-host, and part of my job was finding guests and creating these show sheets to make the host look like they knew what they were talking about. So I figured, why not use some of those skills to...
I'm impressed.
And at least Jennifer and my job is to buffer everything so Justin doesn't completely
come off as a stalker. That's why I got them too.
That was like, there were 4 of us in that group. So I'm like, did you go to my yearbook? Did you see Media Club in the yearbook? I don't know. I better confess everything now. I played field hockey.
Yes.
I was in theater.
You would have played lacrosse if they had a female lacrosse team.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I was the statistician for the boys lacrosse team. My boyfriend was the goalie.
Wasn't going to mention him just in case Bertram's around. Don't need him getting pissed at me.
He's okay with that.
How do you know all this?
Wow.
I do my research. I spent 12 hours researching.
Ordering on Stalker. I
don't know. Like, if I'm gonna have our a big guest on the show, I should put in the same work that I did for the radio show. No,
this is great. I'm loving it.
All right. So questions. We'll get into I'll back into some of the questions. Do you guys have any questions before I go through the list?
Are you, Justin? I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
All right. What was the hardest part about resuming the race after COVID?
Okay. A lot of things. Number one was, how can we get back out there and keep people safe and, keep people safe from getting COVID? How can we get the teams back, after such a 19-month break? Can they still do it? Will they still do it? Can they leave their jobs? Reassuring everybody that when we go out there, that we are buttoned up, that we are following the COVID task force protocols, and, that we were going to travel with a COVID team doing testing, and, just reassuring everybody that it was safe, and also not looking to the world like, I can't believe they went out there, and showing people that we did do it safely and we did not have one case of COVID. So,
wow.
That was it. Yeah, there was a bunch of things, and it took months and months and months. We were talking about it for months to figure out how to do it, because we had such a great cast and we had such a great season, and we really wanted to give the rest of the team, we wanted to let them finish out their race too.
Yeah, because that had to be, I can't imagine them that day that they found out that they were ending the race. That had to be devastating for everybody, actually.
It was devastating and shocking, and just to kind of shut everything down and send the entire I mean, you guys have been out there. There's like 70 to 100 of production out there.
Yeah.
Plus, we leapfrog producers ahead to other countries. So everybody was out there. And so it was like shutting it down, but flying people home from all over around the world when things were starting to shut down, literally airports and borders and all that. So how quickly can we get everybody home safely? And Bertram really spearheaded that with CBS, and CBS was wonderful. And, safety is number one. We want to have a fun and entertaining show, but we want everybody to come home safe, so that was number one.
Absolutely. And the network that Bertram's built through his years of traveling and doing all these different shows has got to be enormous at this point.
Yes.
I know you said 50 to 70 people work on the show, but throughout the whole production of the show, including the locals, how many people total are involved in one season?
I'd say in one season, there's easily 1,000 people, because every single country has like our local facilitation company. And then there are PAs and drivers, translators, local art department, local camera crew, location people, production managers, and then our team. It's enormous. And then it's also, all the people that help us get into the country, that help facilitate us coming through the airport, and the visas and the carnets, it's enormous. And just here, I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but if we go to a country that requires a visa, it takes weeks to months to just get to process one passport. Imagine doing that for over 100 crew and cast before we leave on the road, and buying all of production's tickets, and getting it right every time. We have an incredible visa team, an incredible travel department. It's enormous.
Yeah.
So thousands of people around the world are working on the show while we're filming. Yes.
Jeez.
And I don't think sometimes people appreciate some of the minor details that y'all even do with the show. So like sometimes I remember, it's not always just the yellow envelope clues, right? Sometimes the clues are just little art styles for the country that you're in. You may see it for all of 2 seconds on screen, but like that's the small details y'all put in the show that I sometimes think gets overlooked by a lot of people when they're just watching it casually at home.
You're so right. I mean, our art department is super amazing. It's run by JR and Sally Betting, who's been with us since season 2, I think.
Wow.
Like a lifer. And, most everybody was living in LA when this all started. And then people, grow up, move away. And she flies to LA to work on our show every season. JR lives in another state. He flies to LA to work on the show. And every detail is not overlooked. Every detail is cared about. What is this clue box going to look like? How is this room going to look? Are we, when they run to fill on the mat, what's the background? Do we need, I don't know, anything and everything, flags, banners, clue boxes, all that gets shipped and the mat gets rolled up, and it all goes, on big shipping containers, and we pray that it gets there in time. There is so much that goes into getting the show on the air and up and running, or just ready for you guys to run through, and the clue box is there and you rip open the clue. But we've been up all night reviewing all the clues, making sure they make sense, and making sure that they're okay. We've got 10 teams. Are there 10 envelopes? And we read those clues 3 and 4 times before we actually seal the envelope. I check it, the next person checks it, and the next person checks it. And we always find a little something. We're like, okay, we got to print it again, pull the printer out. And it's like 3 a.m. and you guys are going to be landing like at 7 a.m. So we're exhausted. There's a race behind the race.
Yeah. I heard Bertram say in an interview, he stayed up one time for 83 hours trying to get.
Oh my God. Done. I don't know about 83, but okay. Maybe 38.
So how do you guys come up with the roadblocks and the detours? Is that something that you and Bertram are involved in, or is that a whole separate team?
No, Bertram and I are involved in all of that, but we do have a challenge department. And like I said, art department and the producers. So what happens is in the beginning of a season, we have to figure out where we're going. We have a room in our office called the War Room. And there is a map on the wall that is, I don't know, it's probably, 15 feet by 10 feet. And we, think about where we were the season before, where do we want to go back to? What would make an interesting route is, hot, cold, rainy, dry, desert, so we try to like mix up the route. And once we kind of have that route figured out. It goes through CBS approval, security approval, safety approval, and then scouting begins. And I will say, since I had my daughter, Bertram does a lot more of the scouting than I do. And he will go out with, we call them country producers. So if we're going to Italy, there will be somebody that is in charge of that country. So we scout with the country producer, then we have the local facilitator that we meet up with and the location scout. And our research team in the office puts together a lot of research, and Bertram has been everywhere in the world, and we all brainstorm about what we want to see, what cities we want to go to. And so we do the research at here at home, but then we also find a lot when we get on the ground and we're sitting in the car and we're going out in the morning and we're like, okay, we're going to drive to, you know, whatever it is. We're driving into Paris this morning. There's the obvious ones, the Eiffel Tower, you know, there's certain things that we know are iconic that make great route markers, but what are the behind the scenes things, the little unknown places that we can go to that we try to dig up and find? What do people do for a living here in Paris? What do people, you know, just like what makes this place tick? So that's what we do. And we gather all that information, we come back to the office, and then Challenge comes in and they said, okay, we've got probably going to have 8 teams in that location, whatever it is, 8, 6, 5, 4. And how can we do this with a bunch of people coming in, whether it's a dancing challenge or anything, a puzzle, building something. It just takes, it's about 4 months of preparation. So initially it's Bertram going out there and coming up with the big picture stuff and having ideas, but then it's a team effort. Everybody's job is important on the show. It couldn't be what it is unless we were all working together.
One question that gets asked a lot for us is, would you and Bertram be the best team to ever compete on the race?
100% no. We would be the worst team. The thing, I know that because we work together. We've been together for nearly 25 years. It is tough just working with the person you live with. And I think part of the beauty of the show is we come from it from very different backgrounds and very different perspectives. Bertram grew up in Europe. I grew up in New York. There's a little bit of an age difference. So we see the world very differently. And I think that's been nice because it's been a nice contrast for the show, because things that he sees is really unique. I'm just like, well, I don't even understand that. And I'll say, we should go to the Taj Mahal. And he's like, no, the Taj Mahal. I'm like, Bert, everybody in the world knows the Taj Mahal and wants to see the Taj Mahal. Everybody wants to see the pyramids and the Sphinx. So we look at things very differently. But as a team, we bicker a lot. I see teams do well that get along, that stop to smell the flowers and then smell the roses. They look around, they enjoy things. Those are the teams I aspire to be like, the people who take a minute and look around and say, look at this beautiful place we're in. Bertram is go, go, go. And I'm the one that would want to slow him down. So I think there'd be a ton of conflict. I would never put myself in that position.
Good TV.
But made for great TV, though.
It would be great TV. Amazing TV.
So What do you think is the hardest part of the race? Challenges, getting from A to B, communication with your teammates? What do you think was the hardest part as a racer?
Well, a hard question for me to answer, but I see communication as a big pitfall, or just getting ahead of yourself and starting to panic, because as a racer, what I see as a contestant, you don't always know where all the other teams are. So you always have this in your minds, like, are we last? Are we first? Are we in the middle? I always feel like sometimes you know where you are because you get excited when you see, like, oh, good, there's another team there. But when you don't see other teams, say you're driving a car, I think driving is the best for TV, but the worst for the contestants, especially dear Arun and Natalia, who really struggled with driving. And that is, I think, stick shift and driving in a city with just a map and no GPS is super challenging. Maybe that's the hardest thing. Or a roadblock where you can't help your partner and you can literally see the answer, or you can literally see, there have been challenges. There was in the finale, I think it was season 32, forgive me if I'm getting it wrong, when we were in New Orleans and they had to get the baby and the cake. Mm-hmm. We could see production. I was looking at the baby on the floor and I was dying for all of them. One of the teams, because, I was like, my goodness, it's right there. I love those moments where the camera zooms in on the answer.
Just like this last episode.
How those cameramen pull that off, because they do it like a pro.
our camera crews are amazing. They see everything, they hear everything. They interview you guys on the fly. They are director, cameramen, producers. They are incredible.
Yeah, they're definitely the best teams in the business, and I know that Bertram is really, really picky about who gets to be a part of his crew, and when
well, rightfully so. That's like most of the show. I mean, other than doing like the challenges, like when you're at a challenge, it's a little different. So if you're at a detour, you're at a roadblock, but all of the in between, it's really the cameramen that are dictating, who's asking, what are you talking about? Who's asking what, getting the good shots. Like it's them. And
they all have their own little way of doing it too. Some of them are like, they know how to get under your skin and get you pissed off when they need a pissed off shot. And some of them are really sweet and ask nice questions.
Yeah, they're very savvy.
Just the selection process for the crews, because it really is astounding, and the production piece of the race was what I was in awe of. I mean, besides everywhere that we went and everything we got to do, but it was just so mind-blowing to see everything that went into it, and then to have people just like, those cameras are just, they are not attached to their bodies, and they're sprinting alongside us. The sound guys have like 50-pound packs on. So it's no joke what they're doing. And I'd love if you could share what goes into like the selection of that. And I'm imagining like a Marines boot camp for them.
It is a boot camp. The whole show is like a military operation. It has to be so organized and put together, but the selection of the camera crews, that is definitely Bertram's department, and our DP, who has been with us for a very long time. And you're not just going to be a first-time camera person and running on the race. You kind of come up through the ranks, and they have to have a background. It's always good to find people that have been in journalism, where they've been out there, on the front lines running and, getting every single shot, and also live news camera people, because in our show, as you guys know, there's no going back. There's no second chance to get a shot. If they miss you opening, finding the clue, or, something gets revealed, if they're not filming it, we don't have it. It is a lie. We tell the camera crews and try to tell people that when we're filming the show, it is like a live sporting event. It is a race for $1 million. We cannot ask the contestant to run back 100 yards and run back to them again. You got to open the door, jump out of the car, jump in the car. And, there's a system to it all. You guys have all seen it. So they have to be alert and sharp and super fit. I mean, not everybody, I'm saying this with all respect, not everybody looks like they can run super fast and hard. You look at some of these camera people and you're like, are you really gonna be able to run up those stairs? And then they do. They are beasts. And something I do love, in the last several years, we have gotten more and more female camera people and sound people. And these women they're running circles. Some of them are much stronger than the guys. Sorry, guys. But, it's a job that you have to be really ready to take, because it's like outside and you're running and gunning. It's snowy and it's cold and it's wet and rain. It's like the mailman. Yeah. Hell, sleet, snow. And, you got to be out there every single time. You're going to get wet. It's going to be cold. You might be camping. Who knows?
And I love that part of the casting process. You make every racer put the camera on the shoulders and see how heavy the camera is in the backpack, so they can appreciate what everybody is going through.
Do you know that we have a Steadicam operator that did a lot of filming of Phil on the mat and things like that. And I was like, I want to try that on, because this guy was like running around and not really, like, it looked like nothing. He put this around my waist and gets tied up. It has to weigh over 100 pounds. I almost couldn't even take a step in it. Mm-hmm. It is so heavy. And then it's got this arm that, you could easily tip over in either direction. And he's just like leaning back and, like a ballet. That is one thing I love about the camera crews. It is watching like a choreographed dance out there. When I see there's a bunch of teams and there's camera crew, one guy's getting like the wide shot, one's doing the close up, and they are running around each other, and they know how to work the dynamic of the scene. They have little signals they give each other. I got the wide, you got the tight. It's beautiful to watch.
I can't fathom how this hasn't happened already, because of Bertram's past of being like almost a documentarian. How come there's no a 1 hour special or documentary of the making of this show. I mean, people would be fascinated to know and see all of the craziness and the things that go into it.
Absolutely. You know, Bertram brought this up a long time ago. We've asked about it. I don't know, you know, it's definitely something I would like to bring up. I do feel like we need a whole team following us around and documenting the making of The Amazing Race. I would love that. We are open to it. In the earlier days, you know, the show was much more secretive and nobody knew where we were going. And we were not even allowed to like tell anybody but like
it was a travel show.
It's a travel show. But we weren't even allowed to talk to anybody and tell anybody where we were going. Like my parents, it was like, okay, I'll tell you when I get there where I'm going. And so CBS did not want any secrets given away as to how do they make that show and how do they do it. There's, you know, a lot of people that want to try to make their own Amazing Race. Mm-hmm. And so in the beginning, it was fear of letting the cat out of the bag, how it's done. Although, you know, I wish anybody luck that wants to take on The Amazing Race to do that production.
There's no way you can recopy that. You can't copy. I just don't see how they would ever even improve on it, right? So like, you have something that's kind of at the peak. How are you going to
like
the race? Why would you copy?
The race across Europe they tried, the fake bootleg copy. It's just terrible.
The moon. I don't know. So I would love to do behind the scenes. I would love to do that. So, you know, you're making me think about it again. So I think we should ask again.
Yes.
I do think it's historical and it needs to be documented for
Absolutely.
sure.
It's more than an hour-long episode, though.
Whatever, 2 3 hour documentary, however long it'd be. I think fans would just be absolutely enamored at what really goes on behind the scenes.
I would love to do that.
How much do you, Bertram, and Phil pack?
Okay. I pack a little, you know, the one that can fit in the overhead.
Mm-hmm.
So Bertram and I pack different than Phil. Phil's got a whole wardrobe, right? So I think Bertram probably takes a little more than me, believe it or not. So I have it down to a science, because what happens is you really realize that you're really going to wear a couple pairs of pants over and over again. In the beginning, early seasons, I was like, okay, I need something for this. I need something. And then you just, honestly, you start wearing the same things over and over, and you wash your clothes, any hotel that you can get into. So, you know, I pack in is it 27 inch? I pack in the suitcase that fits in the overhead, because I don't want it to get lost. You know, I don't want my luggage to get lost. I have done that before where I've checked my bag. This happened in India, and I was in the same clothes for like 4 days. And that was unbelievable. Yeah. It was warm, and I was wearing, I think we came from a cold country. So I had like really warm leggings and a long black shirt. And I was like, this is the worst. So
Bertram needs a separate bag for his scarves, right? He loves his little scarves.
Yeah, he's got 500 scarves. I'm sorry, I'm gonna text Bert right now because our dog is scratching my door to death. Please get Lola. Lola. So, and Phil has 2 giant suitcases, and sometimes we can send some things ahead for him. I'm gonna let my dog in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, do your thing. We can handle this.
My door to death.
Guys, Elise is here.
Lola, please.
Feel free to cut me off. Yeah, feel free to cut me off at any time. I can just.
All right, I'm back.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. One of my most memorable moments on the race, and I'm sure you have a million of them, and you've forgotten 1,000, was in Tanzania when we were building the desks. We had to run out, and we had all those Crocs that y'all set up and everything, and then we had to find the pairs. There were a whole table full of white Crocs. So we had those, and I wasn't sure what to do with them after, and I just noticed that there was so many kids around me without shoes. So I was so hesitant. I wanted to give them the shoes, but I didn't know. Was it CBS property? Were you guys going to take them back? Because that would be horrible. And I remember you were in the window with Bert had his little camera. Yeah. And I went up to you and I said, do I need these? Can I give them to the little boy? And you just said, you do what you want to do. And I was like, and Tara looked at me, she's like, we might need them. I'm like, look at them. They have no shoes. So we gave the kids the shoes. That was one of my most dearest memories from the race. And it wasn't filmed or anything like that. And it didn't have to be. My question to you is, out of all these 33 seasons, what is one of the most memorable, heart-wrenching, heart-touching memories for you?
Wow, there's a lot of them, and actually, you make me think of the. I think I said that to you because you were currently racing, right? You were in the middle of the race, and if I were to tell you to do something, for me, that's like almost crossing a line. Like, I can't say he needs them later. I can't say he needs them now. He wants to give them to the kids. So I have to be very careful about what I say, because what if you needed them later and then, Elise told me to give, Elise told me that I could give them away, and I'd be like, well, that's why we lost, like I always have to be so careful with what I'm agreeing to or even answering on the race. But we've done so many things that I don't know if people really know, but stuff like that. Like, we built those desks, and then we also, we left them behind for the students and the school. And then we left all the lumber and supplies and paint and everything for them to build more. And we always try to leave places better than they were, right? We are not a company or a production company that runs through where people are like, I don't ever want them coming back. We open the doors for people, to come in, because we really value people and their lives, and it means a lot for us to be allowed to go to places. But we've done things where we've had supplies delivered to orphanages, but then what you guys don't see is that we will donate so much more beyond that. So there might have been a basket delivered by each team to an orphanage, and then we will give like a truckload of things, school supplies. We've painted schools. There was a season where we were in Ethiopia where we had to mud a hut. So when they build their homes, they throw mud on the walls, and that becomes the walls. And then we had the teams carry these roofs, these hay roofs, and put them on. And we built more of those for the people in Ethiopia. Oh, nice. In Vietnam, we had this fishing challenge in this fishing village, and all the nets and fishing equipment that we used that we bought and used, we left there so they could continue using those to make money. There are so many things that we do that we leave behind. Those are the most, those are some of the things that I hold near and dear, that I love that we've done. There was a tsunami in Sri Lanka years ago. And one of the people that worked on our show, his whole house and village was destroyed. We actually went back and built him a new home. This was not on the race. It was not even documented, but we paid to have his home rebuilt because they were so wonderful to us. There's many, many moments like that. And I also, there's beautiful moments where I see people who are traveling, teams that travel on the road, that might be a strained relationship, father-daughter, father and son, where they get to spend this time together and they have like a renewed relationship because of it. There's so many.
Mom and I are one of those people. Like,
yes,
the race really helped me and Mom out. Ever since the race, Mom and I have been on such good terms. And I think kind of getting into that bubble, getting into, we are competing, we're doing a race, but we're having this life experience, right? Yeah. That only 500 people in the world can say that they've done. Right. And it creates such a bond that, it helped Mom and I out. It did.
Love that. I love that.
It changed my life completely. When I came home, one of the things Bertrand said was that, the race is designed for people to go out and see that, just see the world and visit the world. And I took that as, being an American and having all this stuff around me, that there's so many Americans who we have this false sense of wonderment. And this is the greatest country in the world.
No, it's not.
But what do we have to compare it to?
Right.
So go out there and prove that we're great by seeing and experiencing other people's countries and cultures. And I never really, and I was pretty well traveled before going on race. But when I got back, the one thing I didn't realize what I was doing was I think I just became a far better parent just by being on the race, from understanding what I missed and taking the time, just thinking, gee, I want my children to see this, right. And I want, so-and-so to see this. And the first thing I did when I got back is I planned a trip to Alaska with them. It's just like, we got to get out there and see. And I had the chance to meet so many people and they live vicariously through the race, seeing the world.
That's so true. Joey, that is like the best thing, the way that the race affects all of you that are on it, or inspires people to travel, or changes people's minds about places that they maybe judged because they're like, oh, I would never go to that country, or what's and then, there was a situation with Ian and Terry. Okay. And they were earlier on, a married couple. lovely couple. And we were going to Vietnam, and Ian he was like, the last time I was there was during the war, right? Yeah. So he was not excited about going there at all. But what happened for him, it opened up his eyes. He saw Vietnam and the cities and the people. It opened his eyes to seeing there are beautiful people here. There are lovely people here. There are nice people here. And it brought him to tears because he saw what he didn't see before. So you can never judge a place based on what somebody tells you, or maybe based on a horrible experience as he went through. You have to just give other people a chance. You have to just see the world and expose yourself to that before you make a decision. And you're going to find that there's people out there just like you and me, and families and kids, and they just have all the same needs and wants that we do. It's all about feeling loved and feeling safe.
Absolutely.
Right. Totally.
If you go on the race and it doesn't change you, you have something wrong with your mental. You need to get checked. I mean, it's such an incredible experience. All right, so let's lighten it up a little bit. I don't want people crying in chat. I know that Neil Patrick Harris, Sarah Jessica Parker, Drew Barrymore, Leslie Jones, huge fans of the show. Have you ever considered doing like a celebrity version, or have celebs like reached out and said we want to do this?
We've had some celebs tell us how much they love the show. Ultimately, it's the commitment of time for a lot of them. And, there's also something so pure and beautiful about just, our format of regular people. Yeah. Would I love Sarah Jessica Parker or Neil Patrick Harris to be on The Amazing Race? Absolutely. Neil Patrick Harris, he's such a great dad. I follow him, and he would be so fun if he went with his husband. I could just see the two of them out there. So I would welcome any of them to want to be on the show. Sometimes it's a commitment of time and conflicting schedules because they're very busy people and they're running giant businesses. So yes, it's been thought about.
Is there anything on the race that still surprises you after 33 seasons?
People that don't read their clues.
It still surprises us.
Or they'll literally run past a clue box, and the cameraman will be filming the clue box and almost stop and film it, and they run right by it. So it's that race blind, like I don't know what you would call it.
Yeah, it's race blindness. That's what we refer to it as.
Straight tunnel vision.
Yeah, it's tunnel vision because you think it's so much harder, or it's got to be hidden further. It was like watching the guys this season. It was Penn, and he had the race envelope in the train station in London.
Is this the clue?
He's like, it can't be this. You're holding it.
It literally was the clue. We talked about that on here. It's the clue that you always rip open. It's not even like a hidden clue.
Those things just shock me. And then they see other contestants running by and leaving with that clue, and they're still not quite believing it, It's like snow blind. I don't know.
They're in chat right now. So the race blinders are real.
I love that.
There are so many people asking in chat. And of course, nobody in this group who are asking if there's ever going to be an all-stars or a second chance for, especially people who came in second. No one in this group, mind you, just the people in chat.
Oh my God, I love that. We wish
they really want to know if there's going to be an all-stars or a second chance or something like that coming up.
Those are always things that we talk about. What are we going to do this season? What are we going to do this season? Nothing planned for right now, but I'm hoping to do this for another 10, 20 years.
Yes.
So I'm sure there'll be one of those at some point.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I always thought it'd be kind of fun to have the kids of the people who were on the show that weren't born when the show was on.
That's so funny. I wrote that as a note. I was like, Dan, I'm going to ask her if they'll do a spin on the family season and do kids of people who've been on the race, because they've been around for 20 years already. And you have people who've had kids and grown up watching the show, and people who come on as mothers with kids that are teenagers and now they're adults. It's like, I think that'd be such a cool idea as well, like the new style of family season.
There's a 14-year-old in chat, and he's with us every single week. His name is Blake, and he wants you guys so bad to do a teen version so he can be on it because he loves the show.
Well, he's only got 4 more years till he can apply to go with a family member and a grown-up.
Yeah, they'll be around. They'll still be here.
And the Holdernesses are here, and they say hello.
Yes.
Oh, hi, Kim and Penn. I follow you guys. I am loving your videos, and wow, I mean the songs that Penn and you do, I love them. I'm watching. I'm a huge fan. Love it.
All right. So, what are some of the most memorable tasks for you? I mean, obviously, I know that Phil has said numerous times that the cheese task, rolling down the hill with people falling, is his favorite task. And nobody can forget the watermelon to the face or the 10 hours hay bales. Is there a task that sticks out in your head as favorite or most memorable?
Well, God, those are huge ones. I was there with the watermelon. I was the first person to run over to Claire and Brooke. That, it's funny to look back and watch, but in the moment,
That's terrifying.
I honestly, I was not far from her. I ran over and I was just afraid for her to turn to me and her face was not going to be there. I just didn't even know what to expect. And I was shocked to see that she was okay.
Shocked that her teammates said, "No, you can't quit."
Yeah, no, she had a headache for like 2 weeks after that. I mean, the poor girl. Also, same thing with the cheese racks, where 50-pound cheese racks are rolling down the hill towards production. Like that was scary. In the moment, I'm telling you, it's scary, but those are the best moments. Hay bales. My God, I felt so bad for those two sisters. We literally had to bring Phil out and say, girls, we got to catch our flight. We're going to say goodbye here.
You keep looking. We're going to go now.
We got to go. I'm so sorry. It's been a hard day for all of us. Memorable moments. Those are obviously big, big moments. There's a moment that season 1 at the start line for me anyway. Yeah. We were all standing at Bethesda Fountain in New York City. It was really cold out. It was freezing cold. And it was the first time starting line. Phil's, saying his spiel. He says, the world is waiting for you. Go. And we're all just standing and they're all running. They're all running away. And we're looking at each other. I was like, we got to go. They're already ahead of us. Like the speed at which the race goes, we are in a race to stay ahead of them, and, they were in subways and taxis and we were like, okay, where's the car? Oh, the car's around the corner. You're like, we're just trying to get to the airport before them so we can get on the flight and see what flights they grab. But memorable moments. Even this season with that bungee jump off the dam, that was something we had done before. What I do see is the contestants, as the years have gone on, people come on the show and they are thrill seekers, adventure seekers. There's something really special about the first couple of seasons where, there was one team that showed up with rollerblades. I was like, where are you going to ride rollerblades? You've got a camera crew, rollerblades and a giant rolly suitcase. I was like, that's not going to work. I don't know.
Jody.
Yeah, there's too many moments. They're all amazing and special. When people go to places that they've never been to, it's more for me a feeling that I get from watching them do things or overcoming a fear and coming out the other side, like with their faces just lit up with they're proud, they feel good, they've overcome a fear, they've done something that they thought they would never do before. So it's all of it. I don't know.
What country would you love to visit but can't because of laws or flights or danger or things like that? What country have you always wanted to go to but couldn't?
Right now? It's a continent. I want to go to Antarctica. I want us to get there, but it's very limited. You can only go in January, I think. And then I'm like, what would we do there? Maybe something with penguins? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like dog sled. I don't even know if dog sleds can live out there. Like,
I don't know. There are places I would love to go to. We have not been to Israel yet. I would love to go to Israel. Top of my list. I would love to go back to Egypt. There's a lot. I don't know. I love Iceland. Look, when the COVID restrictions are lifted, we can pretty much go anywhere. But, places like even Cuba, I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Places that, we've never really explored.
I know. I think, weren't they going to go back to Nepal like this past season and it got canceled because of COVID?
Would love to go to base camp, Oh my gosh.
That'd be cool. Climb Mount Everest. Good luck. That's your task. With Roadblock.
Yeah, but Nepal would be amazing. Just like really remote, exotic places. Easter Island, there's so many places on my bucket list of places I want to go to.
Yeah, absolutely. Live your dream with The Amazing Race. Go for it.
Fiji, maybe we run into Survivor on Fiji. I don't know. There's a lot of places we still have not been. There's so many. There's so many places to explore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the season 1 route markers were white and yellow. Why were they changed to white and red? I mean, yellow and red.
Yeah. So the white and yellow, they were just they didn't pop. It was really just a design choice. We wanted something to pop and stick out. They were kind of flat, white and yellow. They just blended. They were hard to spot, to be honest. And red and yellow really pops. And it just became our colors, it really looked good. It really was no other reason than it just pops better and the colors are nice together.
All right, we'll do a little speed round here. You could just simple one word or one answer. Yeah. All right. How far in advance are each leg planned? I think you already did this 4 months, right? Do you know? Do you go out on location with the teams? Obviously, we know the answer, but
yes, I do, but not always the entire race anymore because I got my girl.
She's the only very sweet person that you'll see on the race. Everybody else tries to poke and prod you. Do U.S. crews work on the international versions?
Yes, they do.
Between you and Bertram, how many languages do you speak?
Well, Bertram is from Holland. He speaks about 4 languages fluently. And I studied French for 7 years, so I can't claim fluent, but I do understand quite a bit. But Bertram speaks German, French, Dutch, obviously, English, Italian, and some Swahili, and a little Portuguese. Yeah, he's just got, people have a knack for languages. He has that.
Wow. Would you ever consider publishing the rules that the racers have to abide by?
The Bible.
The Bible, yeah, the rule Bible.
I wouldn't think it would be a terrible thing to publish them because it's just the rules of the race, but I think CBS might think differently.
Probably.
But I'm happy to answer any rules questions for you.
I only learned them when I broke them.
Yeah. It's a thick book.
Yeah, it is. Nobody reads it. We just sign it. Yeah. What are we going to say? No, we're not following this.
Are you kidding me?
You guys read those?
I didn't read a word of it.
Yeah, Diana. I think Diana read them. I just said, what, am I going to not sign it? I'm signing this. I don't care what the rules say. Yeah. Fun fact, Diana's dad was not going to sign the release form because the release form said that you guys are not responsible if we die or something like that on the race. Like, she was like, he's like, I can't sign this. And we were like, we'll forge it. Just sign it because there's no way we're not going on the race.
Great question from Tom in the chat.
Go ahead.
Is it possible for seasons 33's lost route and challenges to appear in a future season?
Well, sure, that we did scout some locations and they were going to be raced through. Yes, absolutely. When we can get back to those countries,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So yes, absolutely. Because we did a ton of scouting that season.
Were there any challenges on the show that you personally wouldn't do?
I will tell you, when we first did the first 15 seasons of Amazing Race, I would test, sorry, my dog is making my nose itch now. I would test anything and everything. I was fearless. And then my daughter was born. And then I was like, do I really need to jump out of this plane to test it? I've done skydiving. So I've definitely gotten a little less testing done because I just think there are risks to everything. And so skydiving is one of them. I did that early on and I did it and I loved it. But it always surprises me also when people on the show are like, oh yeah, I want to skydive. Like they think because they're in the Amazing Race bubble that somehow we have a magic dust that parachute's always going to open, but you do take a risk. And that is part of the reason why that document gets signed. That is, you're really skydiving and you were really bungee jumping.
Didn't you hear Penn? The Amazing Race would never let you get injured. That's what he told his wife.
I heard him, but I did see him crying when he thought about his wife not coming back up. So, it hits you hard when you realize it's the real thing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So I used to do everything, bungee jumping, you name it. I did it, hop in the water, swim with sharks. I was in a lot of the shark tanks, testing all that stuff in Australia when we swam with sharks. I would still do that, but the skydive is probably the only thing I won't do anymore.
Okay.
That's it.
As a fan of the show, do you ever go back and rewatch seasons? And if you do, is there a favorite season that you enjoy watching?
I did. So I'm working on a project that I will just tease here. I won't tell you what it is, but I did go back and I watched the first 5 seasons of Amazing Race. And to see those clue boxes And we had like this crazy little mat. It wasn't the big, amazing race mat that we have now. It would be like a mat from the country. So it might be like a little carpet in Morocco that they would stand on. So I went back to look, and I saw the contestants were not wearing the quick wicking, quick drying, racing clothing, that we were wearing jeans and sweaters. And it was just a very different time. I loved going back and watching those first couple of seasons.
That's one of the things that bothers me about the Cowboys. Like, all right, you've been on the show 3 times. You know that jeans are the worst thing that you could possibly wear on the show. Okay, just put something else
Liz
on.
started my season with jeans and cowboy boots. 29.
Cowboy boots.
The dancers had shin guards. They wore shin guards on the race. Like, what are you wearing shin guards for? Like, all right.
On our season, we're still in jeans, so sometimes it's just a staple of the wardrobe.
Comfortable. You just have to be comfortable. That's really what it's about.
What is your must-have snack when traveling?
I always have a couple granola bars of something, whether it's I can't think of the brand right now, but I always have a couple granola bars because there's always a place where you're going to be starving. I mean, I remember filming season 5. I was out by the pyramids in Egypt, in Cairo, and we thought everybody was going to get through the challenges much quicker. Then the sun started setting and it got really cold and we were hungry. And I was like, I'm never going to let that happen again, because you always should have water and at least 5 power bars in your pocket. Always water for sure, and electrolytes if you can. They have them in the powder form.
Yeah.
You just don't want to be caught stuck somewhere like I was.
The security / health team has definitely gave us some of those electrolytes during our season. It was like everybody's sweating and they're like, dude, you need to drink.
100%.
You need to drink.
I'll never forget. There was one time, I think that stuck with you, Elise, subconsciously, because I'll never forget. It was after Buenos Aires. Like, they didn't have the snacks or out anything, and you were like, we need snacks for these people. Like,
yeah, I got hangry and angry because you guys are like my kids out there.
Oh, I loved it. No, it was like the perfect mom.
Yeah, you're not going to see me get mad until I get mad.
I won't say his name, but we all know the big, scary, bald-headed guy who does not care about any of the racers. And he's the head of the medical corps. He's like, oh, it's not broken. You're fine. Like, whatever.
That's to keep you alive.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He literally
that man.
he told me leg 1 after I broke down and started crying, and he saw me and he goes, you won't make it very far. I'm like, oh, geez. Thanks, bro. Thanks.
Oh, that's enthusiastic.
Yeah,
Justin, he's a little sweetie under there too.
Is
he
he?
Doesn't show it all.
It is an act. It is like he is playing a character. I'm convinced of.
Because I don't know if I've ever shared this on here. Is after we got eliminated, there was concern I had broken a rib on that candelabra. So he was like examining me and putting a little ace bandage on me, and he was like, "I was nice seeing this, but I'm sorry you were eliminated." And kept going. I was like,
oh wow, that's big.
Yeah, there's a heart, but you better be really hurt.
Yeah.
Don't waste his time.
It's just a blister.
You have a bruise, you have a black and blue. Sorry, Yeah, no, he's he could use a little.
He's from a different country, so that's why it's like, they have different standards on what makes an injury. It's like, that's just a blister. It's not
he could be giving you the Band-Aid.
Yeah. The other 2 were always really sweet. But he was just like, I never asked him for anything. I was like, he hates me for some reason.
Being kidnapped, basically. That's really, he's got real big things to think about.
100%.
Yeah.
Not that that's ever been a concern, but that is the stuff that there is being thought of. I was in Morocco during 9/11, and we contacted our team, and they got me to a safer place. So, it's a bigger machine than you imagine.
Absolutely. Like I didn't anticipate you hanging out this long.
I don't even know the time. It's 5:15. Okay, keep going.
Okay. So I was like, I feel bad having you here for this long. But yeah, and then as far as the recap goes, for the fans watching, we'll do the recap whenever Elise wants to go, or if you want to hang out for the recap, we can start.
If you want to start the recap, I'm happy. I watched the show probably 15 times, so it's with all the editing.
Okay.
I have another half an hour if you want.
Okay, guys, you want to do it?
We can blast through that.
All right, let's blast through the recap.
I want to make you cry.
Let's show how it's done. Let's show how it's done, how we do things here on the races recap. All right, the order of departure, heading out of whatever Nakia head in the report. Kim and Penn, Raquel and Kayla at 9 o'clock. Ryan and Dusty, Arun and Natalia 15 minutes later. This is one thing that I wish you did show on the race every time. 27 miles. It's 27 miles to the next location, which should take teams 33 minutes. I Google map everything so we can give the fans the silly little insiders. Teams must drive themselves to this theater that everybody, according to the bonus footage, thinks that there's going to be some sort of acting or singing or dancing happening. So they're all planning for that in the car, where they must find the next clue. Love that there's more stick shift because we get to see Arun and Natalia having issues, and I love longer drives. Road signs are not in letters that people can understand, so people are having a lot of issues. Raquel and Kayla.
Somehow Kim and Penn seem to knock it out of the park there. Like a lot of the other teams seem to struggle with it. Kim and Penn did not.
Well,
I think they got lucky.
Well, they knew, they looked at the map and they're very familiar with ring roads because, and all they had to do was find the ring road there. And once you were on it, you didn't really have to get off it. And other teams were just so concerned about this, and that. They just needed to get to the ring road. And I think they got a 15 to 30 minute lead just getting to the location. Raquel and Kayla think they get lost. They pull off the highway and boom, they're actually in the right place. They were going to make a U-turn, but they were found the right location. Ryan and Dusty, 15 minutes, arrived 15 minutes after that. Arun and Natalia, another 15 minutes after that. But let's get to the roadblock, shall we? Because this is what the bulk of the races of this show is all about. Who will leave no stone unturned? Now, a team member just has to go out there and find a gold coin under a rock. It's a pretty simple idea, except there's 5,000 rocks and only four coins.
That was brutal. Like, did y'all notice on the wide shots, the people looked real small. So that told you how big that actual arena was.
Yeah,
it was huge.
The clue that for this roadblock was incredible because it says no stone unturned, and you really had to pay attention to that because you see a lot of them pushing the rocks out of the way, just kind of looking under the rock when you really got to flip it over. And that's when I just kind of, it seemed that towards the end they were really kind of turning it over instead of just moving it, especially where they had that great camera shot right next to Kim where that was just right next to her. I wasn't sure if they had moved that or not as she touched that rock, but I was like, this is a great clue.
Not to mention the clue, you have to decide who's doing the roadblock just from reading the question. So you really don't know what the challenge is about. Raquel and Kayla, you see them having an exchange and Kayla's like, well, maybe they're really heavy stones and like, maybe you should do it. And those types of things just can put the wrong person in a roadblock, right? You're trying to figure out your own strengths and who should do it. So I can appreciate those things. It worked out for them anyway.
And I've always said that's one of the toughest parts of the race is once you commit to the roadblock, it's always so frustrating. You're like, God, I should have done this one, or my partner should have done this one, and you're stuck. Like once that is decided, you are stuck.
All right, so the racer in
like a
me,
video game in Korea.
Yeah, what the dude playing with one finger beating.
Yeah,
So the racer in me, always looking for the edge on the other teams, was like, okay, take one rock and start marking the rocks that you actually just turned over, because it said you had to leave the rocks exactly how you found them. But like, did you have to leave the rocks exactly how you found them, or could you just take another rock? I know you couldn't take a pen or anything outside, but take another rock and just scratch it and move on, scratch it and move on.
But you had to turn it back over. Yes.
Correct.
But you could have, you had to, I had to leave them. That meant you had to turn it back over. You were supposed to look and turn it back over.
You had to leave it within.
Yeah, you
couldn't stack them or move them and things like that. Yeah. So I was always looking for the advantage or just a way to gain 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, because it all adds up. And so before tackling any task, you say, what can I do that other teams are not going to do? So that was the first thing that I thought of. Kim Holderness immediately, because I live tweet the show, she immediately was like, no, you couldn't do that according to the rules. You had to put the rocks back where they belong in the same exact location. Obviously, when by the time Dusty was there by himself, he was just flipping the rocks over. He didn't care. He was just flipping stuff. He was like,
At that point, I think when you're 3 hours deep into something, there's probably going to be a little bit of leniency.
Well, yeah, especially knowing it's a non-elim, so it's not going to really affect anything because they're only going to be 15 minutes behind other teams anyway. So
they don't know that.
Well, the production does, so that's why I think they're like, all right, just let him do it.
Poor guy. I felt the poor guy. I mean, my God, he really was holding his composure best he could. But I mean, 3 hours is like, how long can you do this?
Oh.
His knees were bloody. I felt so bad. I mean,
I'm glad he had the gloves.
I
If
feel
he didn't
bad
have
for
the
the girl in
gloves,
the
I think his
chair.
knees
She
would
had to
have
stay
been
in character for 3 hours.
that woman, leave
Yeah.
no stone unturned.
She was
Yes.
awesome.
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
say that?
How do you pick the people for like the mat, standing at the mat, or these things like the this girl
Yeah.
actor, or the crazy bug-eye guy we'll get to later, Socrates.
Socrates, yeah, central
I loved
casting,
him.
right? Yeah.
Loved him.
I mean, we definitely wanted characters for the people. Bertram had the idea of, what was it? I wrote it down. Diogenes, right? The cynic.
Yes.
And Bert's like, let's put him in. You know, there's a picture of him where he's in a barrel. I want him in a barrel. Poor guy sat there in the barrel.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just being creative and trying to find what fits for the culture or the history. You know, we want it to be kind of fun also.
Yeah,
you know?
you guys love your costumes and uniforms and getting people to dance and sing in crazy costumes and uniforms. That happens every season, and it's something
Yeah.
that as a racer you kind of like, you wait for those challenges because you know there's going to be one of those. Let's put on some silly costume and dance or do something like that. So that's kind of fun. All right.
Yeah. What am I going to be running to the pit stop in?
Yeah. I love Kim's strategy of going with the pie shape. But my strategy was actually the same as Arun's, to go start on the outside and work your way in, kind of like a flushing toilet, and go like that. But both of them stopped their strategy because other people were in their way. Guys, is there any reason that you would let other people stop your strategy?
No.
No. And here's the thing too, is if they're in your way, that means those routes are, I'm assuming those routes are turned and it's probably not there. So like if someone's literally in your path, then just assume those routes are been turned over and just keep going with your
Bad
strategy.
assumption. Terrible.
Yeah, I remember the Dar es Salaam with the boxes and the key. Everyone looked through all those boxes until finally someone figured. They weren't really sure they were looking for an actual thing. I think, Elise, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but like,
Yeah.
there was so many people went through those rooms and no one could find a key. We left, and then they finally figured it out. So maybe they were kind of thinking there might have been a clue to something else.
But a lot of those people were turning rocks, and they weren't turning them over, completely over, and looking at the bottom. They were lifting them and looking for a coin underneath them. So I don't trust anybody else to look through my stuff. I would look at the same rock that somebody else would, because I'm going to have my thing in my head, and nobody else is going to change my strategy. And I was very surprised that Kim, of all the people, Kim let people change her strategy.
Did they know that? Was it clear in the clue that the coin was on the underside, like attached to the stone?
No.
It was not clear.
According to them on Twitter, I don't know about Elise.
I'm going to have to look up that clue because it's been a while. I could actually check it out.
Yeah. It would be in those extra notes, which everybody would love to see, the extra notes for these things.
Additional information.
Yes,
right?
there's one page of stuff that you see people reading in the taxis all the time, and that's the stuff that really tells you like what you can and cannot do.
That's the key stuff. That's the thing you need to read like 3 times.
Yeah.
You do. That's where all the details are, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone had a good sense as far as, okay, I need to tackle this methodically, but it doesn't seem like anyone really managed to do it. And in one of the videos, Phil said there were 5,000 stones.
There were.
Yeah. Yeah.
My problem with the going around the circumference is that by the time you get back to the beginning, you don't remember which of those stones you looked at. So I get the wedge, but it's almost like you need to do the wedge like to a center point and then back, and to a center point and back. I'm overthinking things. But
Well, no, that's what you have to do in a task like this. Otherwise, what happens is you give up all hope like they did. They just like, oh, we searched everything. Well, no, you didn't. You didn't search everything. You just think you searched everything because you're just flipping things in there and you don't have a strategy. If you just go in a strategy, go in a circle, I got all the first 3 from outside, I'm working my way in. What's the 4th rock? What's the 7th rock? What's the 10th rock in? And you just keep going around and around in a circle until you find them. That was my strategy. But again, it's easy to judge from the couch all the time. You know, like I would say I'd never pick a needle in a haystack challenge, but on the race, I did pick a needle in a haystack challenge. So it's those type of things that adrenaline, for anybody who's never run the race, if you've never like done anything on adrenaline, you can't think straight when your mind is flooded
And
with
also
all these
remember,
chemicals.
we're now at lead 9, right? So like the fatigue is setting in hard at this point.
Yeah.
So that's another thing you have to remember too.
Because your body is just dead at the end of every leg. It doesn't matter how physical the leg was. Your body is just tired. And you get to the hotel, you think, oh, I'm going to do this. And you're just like,
Wash your underwear in a sink.
Yeah, so you have to wash your underwear in the sink first, and then you go to sleep. So, see, Penn says that the first team to get there has the easiest time, obviously, and the last team to leave has the hardest time. But he actually went through and did the math on his podcast. Let's see if I can find it here. He said that people were going through about 50. You could turn over 50 a minute if you took 5 or 10 seconds to relax. And if he did the math, and you go through it like that way. I can't find it here. It's in
What did that, Penn?
Yeah, Penn did it on his podcast. I watched their podcast. They get into very detail. So he said it would take 100 minutes if you turned over every rock without turning over the same rock, taking a 5-second break every minute. So it should take you 100 minutes if you don't turn over the same rock twice. And no team did it in 100 minutes. So obviously,
Elise, did any of that ever cross your mind when you were making this challenge?
No, that calculation right there, if you turn over every single rock.
You're like, how hard is this actually?
We were hoping, there's always luck involved. We always think, what if they just get the rock? I mean, my gosh, that would just be like the end of that, like boom, oh my God, I got it. But, a lot of thought with our challenge department goes into, they've done these tasks before. And we really just were thinking, if you find a point and you start in this spot, you could slowly eliminate the places that you were cross-referenced, just kind of go through everything.
Yeah. In law enforcement, there's so many different search grids that we use to search clues, and giant fields and everything. And yeah, I was thinking in my head which one I would use in that, whether it be circle, grid, stripe back and forth, or strip back and forth, or yeah, it's so many.
Arun, our job is to be Monday morning quarterbacks. Of course, that's what we do. We got to talk for the fans, but give them the inside information. And I know you gave me junk on Twitter about saying, of course, you got lost. And I watched the bonus footage. You did get lost, so don't try to act like you didn't.
Also, Arun, to say it a little nicer than Justin did. Remember, we've all raced before, so we've all had people Monday morning quarterback us, and we do understand what you're going. That's what Justin meant to say.
And Arun, we always say how much we love you too after we shit on you. So I mean, come on, give us a break.
Yes, we judge racers. We don't judge humans. The cast is full of amazing humans, but not the best racers all the time, as we saw with like Mike and Mo. Incredible people, not the best racers. So we get it. Like we judge the racers, not the people. Okay, so Arun and Kim ditch their strats. Raquel kicks a rock over. It turns halfway over, and it reveals the coin. And of course, the incredible cameramen are like zoom right in on them as it comes halfway over and then falls back down. Boom, and then I got pictures, but they're underneath where Elise is right now. There's pictures of Kim has her foot on the rock. There's pictures of Kim with her hand on the rock. And they're literally touching the rock, and the super fan that Kim is literally calls out the production of the whole thing. She's like, they're gonna play this sound effect, and I'm gonna be holding a rock, and I'm gonna be missing it, and it's like da-dong, da-dong, and the absolute editing, the production, this was just top notch, perfect the way the race should be. Love that. That was one of my favorite parts of this whole season, is Kim calling out the production staff.
Yes, that was brilliant. I loved when she did it. And she even had the sound effect right. I was like, wow, she nailed it.
Yeah. If you watch their podcast, they took a colander and they repeated that sound effect early on in one of their first podcasts. They were like, we can make that sound. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. Let's see. Raquel kicks the rock over. We saw that. Raquel starts to meditate. She says that she meditates every morning before every leg, and she kind of took a deep breath and meditated. And the editing, of course, boom, shows it like right after she meditates for a second, she finds it first out.
Was it actually that close in succession?
Oh, we don't know. According to what we saw on television, yes. So what I love about this is that as soon as Raquel finds it, she runs up, puts it up on the thing. She presents it to the Greek goddess there, and Kim is the person that runs over to see what the rock looks like. Love this, these little superfan moves that only the superfans pick up on. Runs over to make sure she knows what type of rock it is, what it looks like, what the coin looks like. So now that she saw the coin was actually stuck to the rock, now you have to look totally different than some people were looking before. Is it underneath the rock? Is it just pick up the rock, it's right there? Is it like a local Greek coin? But no, these are actually stuck to it. So now she understood exactly what she was looking for, and that gave her the edge, I think, and she found it second. I don't think that was just coincidence, but totally could be. From what I heard, it took Raquel about 90 minutes when she was there of looking, which means that Kim was there for at least 2 hours, because they were there, I think, a half hour before any other team. So at that point, Kim's already there 2 hours. Raquel finds it in 90 minutes, and she is out.
Can you also imagine being the other four not doing the roadblock, just sitting in the stands watching this?
Ugh.
Like, that's painful too.
Oh, brutal. I think that's like a worse position to be in because you have no control over the outcome.
You know, I'd have been crying, because if I see Diana struggling like that, and, you know, bloody hands, bloody fingers, and I'm like, you know, I should have done this one. I shouldn't have made her go through all this torture. You know, that's how I would have been on the race.
You're crying anyway.
I do. I'm very emotional. So Kim eventually finds it. She took over 2 hours, and this is when we see the little testy side of Kim when she says, let's get the... All right, there you go. I hit my beep button, and the sound went out. Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you, Justin.
Uh-oh.
Well, while he's fixing that, Elise, someone in Logan Saunders in chat want to know how much you have to do with editing.
Oh, I'm season for every episode, and
better?
it gets strung together, but then I'm involved in the early edits all the way through the final cut.
All right, can you guys hear me now?
We got you, Justin. We got you.
All right, cool. I hit the beep button, and my whole system like went out of whack because I was trying to hit beep and not curse.
Usually Charlie's job.
Yeah, little Charlie's job. So this is when we see the little testy side of Kim stand out here, and she starts to show that she's actually a human being and not just like these perfect mom and dads, like they've shown. So, no, she was one. She actually got very emotional here, and you know, as an emotional person, I could totally understand that. Speaking of emotional, this is when we got to see Dusty at his best and his worst, I guess. Dusty was really on the edge of breaking rocks and really like destroying this place. And I think this is where having the right partner really makes a difference. On our season, Tiffany was the best partner on the race for Krista. She kept Krista in checks and kept her emotions in check. And I think that Ryan, with his life experience, the way he was able to bring Dusty down here was just a whole nother level of partner.
I just want to say that, yeah, that Ryan and Dusty, incredible team. And one of the things when I watched it, Ryan said, he said one thing, he said, be peaceful, but he also said more beautiful things on the other, there are more beautiful things on the other side. And I just thought, God, is that one of the things you told yourself when you were in prison, that it's going to be better. It's going to get better. There are more beautiful things on the other side. And he just was able to really help Dusty take a moment, walk away, get some perspective on life, look out, look where you are, look the life you have. And then he was able to, like, you know,
he is so even. He's so even. Yeah. He doesn't go low. He doesn't get high. He just rides that line. And obviously, you know, Dusty's had different life experiences, and he's very emotional, gets very high and very low, which is something that I can relate to. And he made him stop, go out and see the beauty where they're at, take a deep breath. You're not letting me down. This is hard. I totally get it. Now go out there and go find it.
I was so mixed about that. And I think we were talking about this before we went on air about like Justin and you crying and everything, but I was so mixed about that because, you know, you're in a race and you want to do it and you want to get out there. And I have a lot of, well, I used to have a lot of just very quick temper and just blow my top. And I was, as Dusty was doing it, first he just started kicking it, and then his arms just started going. And I saw myself so many times, especially in my younger years. And I had wished I had someone like Dusty at that moment. Because first I was like, Dusty, what are you doing? And then when he said, just come here, and I'm like, he's not going to go. He's already gone. And then he just did. He went and they just looked over beautiful Greece and everything else. And I was like, Justin must be bawling his eyes out right now because this is such a beautiful moment in the race. And I was like, this is what a real team does. And the way he reeled him in and collected him, and he actually, I think the beauty of it, Elise, what you said about Ryan is 100% accurate and beautiful, but where Dusty came from to allow him to do that was absolutely beautiful. But and just before that, I was like, dude, he's the one who's always screaming, yeah. And I'm like, act like you've been there, act like you've been there.
Yeah.
But
he was
when
very
he ever
vulnerable.
did that, I was like, this,
and that's
it was such
what I was about to talk about.
Moment. It was just good, James.
You see them as like a very physical, like male, just like, and they've taught the whole race about how like just give us a physical challenge and we'll blow through it. And I love when a team surprises me. And that moment surprised me because they were very emotionally vulnerable in that moment. And I think it centered their team and recentered their balance in the race.
Exactly. And that's what I felt when I was watching it. And to see how two friends can come together like that and put everything they have together, all their experiences in a moment. It also reminded me of when Kim's jumped off the dam because I remember seeing this and when we talked about it, what her just bouncing up and down with her arms in the air was such a beautiful thing to see that she conquered that. When I watched, I had such a newfound respect for Ryan and Dusty, especially where he was coming from a father. So I'm giving my relationship advice award now to those two for pulling together like that. It was stunningly beautiful. And I was sure Justin, as a father, as a friend, was losing his mind.
Well, I do. I definitely cry anytime somebody crosses the finish line on any finale that I've watched since our season. It's something that I can't control. I've never been able to watch my season back because of the way it ended. And certain moments on the race that I see myself in people, or I see like that emotional connection when Penn saw his wife jump off, and just for a split second, he thought of what life would be like without his wife. Like, just now, right now, you could see.
There he goes. There he goes.
It brings me back. Like, if I think about what my life would be like without Diana, I'd probably be dead or in jail. Like, I can't see my life without her. So I could totally relate to those type of things. And they touch me. And, some people don't allow themselves, are not vulnerable enough to allow themselves to feel things when they're watching something. I couldn't get through watching Ryan's his show on Netflix because I was so emotional about it that it was like, if that was me, I could never come out of prison without being an animal. Like, how is he so centered? How is he such a great human being having to go through that? I would just be like a complete beast.
Angry.
I would, yeah. And I mean, just to survive in prison for me might be like I would have to fight people and prove that I'm tough.
But being there, but being innocent.
Yeah, oh my God. And everybody's innocent in jail, right? But he really was. But yeah, things like that, I love. That's one of the things I truly love about the race. You get to see people like they can't hide who they really are in the race. You can't hide yourself. You can fake it for so long, but there's no way you can hide yourself. We're going to see who you are in the race.
Yeah.
All right. So Dusty takes over 3 hours, eventually finds it. And of course he lets out that yell like he does. He gets it out of his system. And the next route info takes him 1.5 miles, which should take teams about 6 minutes. Teams must drive themselves to the Tregarian Tower. And once there, they must listen to these words of wisdom from Socrates, who was very much the actor. He's not an actor. He's an actor. And he's looks you dead in your eyes and made sure that you heard the words that were coming out of his mouth. And this, to me, I thought production said you have to be very extra so people pay attention to these words, because in my head, this is going to be part of the final memory challenge in some way, shape, or form, because what else was the point of them doing this? Just to get lost, or just to show like the backside of a coliseum that wasn't like a beautiful location. It wasn't in this area. It's just like a back alley somewhere, and they have like Socrates there. So it's like, what was the point here? For me, this is like alarm bells going off. And who's there with the notes, taking every word? Kim. You see it right on camera, writing down every single word dude says. And I'm like, she's going to win the memory challenge by like 2 hours because she's literally got every note, every detail written down. And again, another superfan move that I didn't see any other team doing. And teams may remember it, but they're not going to remember it word for word like Kim does. So what did you guys think of this task? Did you think that there was anything extra going on here?
I mean, it probably does. I assume everything on the race has a purpose and a meaning. So that's when we were racing on our race, I assumed that as much. It's also an opportunity for people to get lost with a self-driving lead. So that also helps.
Which almost every team did. The problem was not finding it, was finding the parking spot for this, which I think a lot of teams had in the extra footage. And I highly, highly suggest every team go to the YouTube page and watch the extra footage. Some of the best moments that didn't make it on screen are on these YouTube bonus footages, which I'd love to watch if they put another hour of bonus stuff online, because there's so much that we don't get to see. Kim and Penn drive right past Raquel and Kayla, who are running back from this at the moment. So they say hey to Raquel and Kayla. Raquel and Kayla just ignore them and keep going. So Arun and Natalia get lost on the way. Arun yelling at Natalia a little bit on this leg. And this is when I noted that if I was there with my dad, 0% chance I would be able to be as chill as Natalia is. Like, Natalia is just so, again, what makes a good teammate is when one person is really getting elevated, the other person is really mellow. And this is when Natalia's like, okay. She just kind of calms it down. She knows this is dad. This is how dad's going to be.
She was saying to go straight, and they were at a T intersection.
Right. I get that. But in the bonus footage, he's also saying which way to go, and she's saying left, just park here on the left. And he's like, where do you want me to go? And she's like, park here on the left. And he gets mad at her, and she's like, I just said park here on the left. It's like,
He wasn't hearing her.
Yeah, it's tough. I could never run with my dad, absolutely, and that's why.
Again, I've said it all season. I've said it for multiple seasons in a row. When you run with a parent, Mom and I almost got eliminated early on because we could not get past that mother-son barrier. And we had like a sit down and talked about it. And we were like, if we want to do well in this race, we're going to have to move past that and just be like a pair of team running this race. And I think that's the only way that works for parent-child teams. So like any future parent-child teams, you'll need to sit down and be like, yes, you're my mother, daughter, son, father, whatever. But in the race, we're just partners and we're racing.
Yeah. The channel I was talking about was Amazing Race on YouTube. If you just search their official page, you could see the bonus footage. So again, they must head off to the Detour here, which the Detour is only 2 miles away, and it should technically take people 12 minutes to get there. But again, this is a city that's tough to navigate around. You got to Brigham, which is a physical, straightforward 9 stacks of plates, or break 'em, which is technically another needle in a haystack challenge, which every team chose, the needle in a haystack challenge.
I think it's because you had one member of each team was exhausted, and I don't think they wanted to tackle the physical. If I assume, I don't know, but that's my assumption, is you have one person that's been crawling around on their arms, like hands and feet for hours.
I also think people wanted to break plates.
Yeah.
Truly. Like, I am so frustrated right now. I just need to smash something.
Yeah, Kim really let off some steam.
Kim was, why was she so angry? Just because of the last task?
It's that frustration, from hours and hours of looking around and just dead end after dead end. It's just built up. It was a good way to let off some steam. And of course, also Ryan and Dusty.
Well, yeah, and it's such a Greek traditional thing. And this is something, again, that as Kim, the superfan / producer, she thought that at some point they were going to be breaking plates in Greece, and they wound up doing it. So for me, this one would have been more straightforward. It's a physical task. That's what I would have wanted to do, because I have a definite ending rather than a needle in a haystack. And you don't know how long the band's going to play for. And if we have to stop when they stop, like, how long could that possibly be? I control the physical task. I'm carrying those plates up the hill. We know exactly when we're going to finish, but
give them a rest, though.
Yeah, it's obviously teams were just exhausted. So what I noticed, Raquel, when she first got there, asked for a limoncello. The guy didn't give it to her, but she was asking for a limoncello. So I appreciate that about Raquel. And I counted. Teams got through about 20 plates per song. So if you want to know approximately how long the song was, it was about 20 plates worth.
Who did you time that on though? Because I feel like some teams were much more efficient with their time.
Yes, I timed that one with Raquel and Kayla. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then
I don't feel like they were the most efficient.
Right. So that's why I said about 20, which other teams could have maybe gotten 30. And other teams like Aruna and Natalia were a little slower, so they maybe got a little less. I think they got 16 when I counted them. But there were 300 plates on the table, and Kayla cuts her finger. Let's see. Okay, so most teams, let's see. I wrote down how many plates people got through before they actually found it. Why? In my head, there was no strategy involved in this. No teams used any strategy. Every team just went with the top plates in the first row, which obviously they're not going to put it in the first stack. So why would you ever start there? Start in the back, Jesus. And if they did, teams would have got out of it a lot sooner. But okay, so Kim and Pan got through 250 before finding it. Aruna and Natalia got through about 200. Ryan and Dusty about 250. Oh, actually, Raquel and Kayla 250. Kim and Pan 270. Aruna and Natalia 200. Ryan and Dusty about 250, according to the number of plates that were on the table when they stopped. So everybody just started from the top. Obviously, it was all in the back row. If you would have started in the back, you could have got it, like, I don't know, 10, 20, 30-minute advantage if you start in the back. Were you guys watching it? Did you think if there's any strategy for this, or was it just breaking plates?
I mean, with any of the needle in the haystack, I never go to the obvious. So like, even with the rocks earlier, if I'm entering in one area, I'm probably going to start at the opposite area with any needle in the haystack, but you never know.
Yeah. I probably would have just started with the beginning, because it's like a wild assumption to think that production staged it in the back. Like, maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
I don't know. I know somebody here might know.
Either, which is
we don't want any secrets let out.
Good old poker face Doganieri.
I don't have any secrets about that one. It really is something that challenge has to really think. They have to put themselves in your position, right? If I'm a contestant, what am I going to do first?
Right.
You could put one at the top, but what if it's not? It's like in the moment, looking back, hindsight is 2020. Of course, I should start at the bottom. But when you're in it, you're just like, if we go fast, we'll get to the bottom, even if it's at the bottom. But what if it's at the top? You have all this, like the little, like the angel and the devil on your, should I do it? Should I not do it?
And it's always easy to do it from here.
There's no science like to that.
And you could have picked up a stack from the back, right? To start.
Yeah.
Because right now, all 5 of us in this chat have full bellies, super rested, have had a super chill Sunday.
No adrenaline. Yeah.
These racers have not had that day today.
Totally get it.
Well said, James Earl.
And now you see why I have James Earl and Jen on the show, because they help balance out my, like, oh yeah, you would just do anything, right? All right. All right. The pit stop is next. It's 0.15 miles away. A nice 3-minute jog to go see our boy Dionysus or whatever his name is. The dude hanging out in the barrel.
Diogenes.
Diogenes. There you go. We go into the White Tower of Thessaloniki, which was a nice landmark that people could see from far away, but Phil wasn't really at that location. He was like on a dock, like behind it in the back, like hiding, like, which they didn't show teams having too much problems finding him, but I'm guessing that teams must have went up towards the White Tower and kind of ran around, which I like that, there's a little hidden part. I think Phil should always be hidden somewhere.
Yeah, he was a little hidden, but for us, that's like we got that in the shot. So you can see the tower, because you can't be on the tower or in the tower, and then you're not going to see it. So for us, it is about where's that iconic, beautiful ending location. But yeah, you got to, make them look for Phil for a little bit. Can't make it easy.
Arun in chat said they did move some plates from the back, and that's why they got it. They got it faster than everybody else. They only took 200 plates. So there you go, Arun. I like that. That Arun is a super fan after all.
Super fan contender, Justin. You've got 2 award contendees.
Yes,
right now.
we do. All right. So for coming in first place, Raquel and Kayla win a trip to Hawaii, and I was very disappointed. Phil didn't give him a spa treatment, because we love whenever Phil says spa on this show. And for coming in last place, Ryan and Dusty will be the only team leaving in the last group, which, if you noticed, Phil said that Raquel and Kayla are going to leave by themselves. It's not going to be a first group where there's 2 teams anymore. they're going to actually get an advantage in the next leg of 15 minutes over every other team, which I found very interesting. Did you guys pick up on that?
Oh, 100%. And time is huge. Like, time is the biggest currency in the race. If you can just get that little smidge of a head start with that buffer, it's huge.
Yeah. So I think that's going to come into play in the next leg, which is heading off to beautiful Portugal. Two things that I was happy about on this leg. Raquel and Kayla are the first female team to win a leg since Jen and Christy. And Jen and Christy were the first female team to win a leg since Amy and Maya, both who are co-hosts of the show. So I appreciate having some of the best female teams to ever run the race on this show, and very proud to have them as members of the Races Recap. And I love seeing Raquel and Kayla, the excitement that they had when they won for this time. That was such a genuine moment of just, and they've run this race, again, two of the best teammates. I've never seen them argue with each other. Whenever they mess up, even in the bonus footage, they're just giggling, laughing, having a good time, and loving every single minute of this race. And I wish, you know, me and Diana were able to have that type of.
I told you at the start of the season, I saw it on leg one. I knew they were going to be contenders. And this episode had some foreshadowing that I'm thinking maybe real foreshadowing.
Go ahead, say it.
Well, I mean, they said that they're going to be the fourth female team to win.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's some strong foreshadowing. We saw it back in season 30. Sorry, Joey, but when Scott bungee jumped and he said, if I'm doing that, I'm winning $1 million.
Yeah, but there was also foreshadowing on our season saying that we were going to break all the records, and we were going to. How many times did we say that? How many times did they make me say that?
That was just you.
You know what I mean?
Just you, Justin. They were really just jabbing that knife, Justin.
They were.
I will say all teams when they sign up for the race are like, we are the ones that are going to win. All of you are saying you're going to win.
That is very fair. There is footage of everyone in here saying
Justin
we're going to win.
And James Earl did have Raquel and Kayla in their top three, though.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Before the race, we all pick a top three, and mine was Kim and Penn, Raquel and Kayla, and Sam and Connie. But Sam and Connie didn't come back. I thought that Anthony and Spencer would get U-turned at some point, so that's why I didn't have them in. But I had Sam and Connie in, which is obviously they didn't come back, so a little disappointing.
Sam and Connie had a baby.
Yes, a
They
beautiful
did. We got
baby.
to see the baby. It's so cute.
Yes, Sam came on the show and showed us Little Rock. We also did a poll last week to say who do you think would win the race. 74% picked Kim and Penn, 15% Raquel and Kayla, 5% Ryan and Dusty, 6% Aruna and Natalia. But then there was another poll on the Amazing Race fans page where 639 people thought Kim and Penn, and so about 60%, about 30% thought Ryan and Dusty. Only 10% thought Raquel and Kayla, and not many people think Aruna and Natalia, and you can understand why. I mean, obviously they've had the most problems here. But a couple things that happened on this leg. Kim and Penn did not win, so that means they can't break our record of 5 consecutive wins in a row. Even though I was rooting for them, I like to hold on to any little moment of glory that I can have.
At least that just brought up like a kitchen timer. I want you to know that. Every 5 minutes is like, ding. Oh, I had the most consecutive wins. Ding.
I was relieved to see Dusty and Ryan finish 4th and not finish in the top 3 in every single leg, because even though our partner swap messed it up for me and Christy, I never stepped on the mat lower than 3rd.
You were always on the podium.
Wow, that's right.
So relieved that they did not get eliminated, and this is why these are the teams that I love the non-elimination legs for, when you have a really strong team that just has a slightly off day or some bad luck and they get to continue racing. Like it was good.
This may be a little behind the scenes. Is there such thing as a winner's edit?
A winner's edit? What do you mean by that?
Like, I don't know. People talk about reading the edits or reading this and that. Is there such thing? Like, do they? I mean, you guys know who wins, but obviously before you finish editing. So do you edit it differently because of the team that wins? Like, you know, throwing in things like these little phrases and the little skits and things like that. And we all read into it. As super fans, we all read into these things, and we all think we can pick the winners at it.
Look, I try to pick the winners every season, and I'm never right. I fail miserably. I'm not a good picker because people surprise me all the time, you know?
Yeah.
The winners edit, I don't know. I mean, it's just, these are things that people say and do. And it's just, we try to tell their story the best we can. So
So at this point, Ryan and Dusty and Kim and Penn are exactly even as far as average leg placement. The best that either one can do if they win out is 2 even, which would put them, I think, 4th all time, which would take our spot. So hopefully nobody else wins out every leg. Okay, with let's see, I got that 29, Amy and Maya. Okay, so the next episode, and then we'll do our actually, before we go into the next episode, let's give out our awards.
I gave out mine.
All right, James Earl, who is getting your seal clap here? The James Earl seal clap
is going to go to Ryan, and it's a weird seal clap for me, but it's a moment that just made me so excited. Is when he just took a moment, took a breather, refocused the team, rebalanced the team, and I think it is what created them from completely fumbling, and it's why I think they're going to make it through the next slide into the finale. So he just my little seal clap.
Seal clap. All right, my super fan is definitely going to Kim on this leg.
I never knocked on to Kim.
Yes, once it did not go to Kim. But come on. I mean, the only other person that could have got it was Arun for getting a little bit of an advantage. But there was 3 separate moments.
Give it to the poor guy.
I don't just listen. There's no participation. I don't give participation
trophies. He's in
trophies.
the chat when you throw him a bone.
Kim's in the chat too. But listen, I don't give participation. No participation trophies. Kim is sitting there at the Diogenes writing down word for word exactly what he said. And I think that's going to be part of the final chat. Oh, my God. Ray Fletcher just donated $50. Jesus, that's more than I make all season with these shows. Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Every dollar goes back into the show production-wise, so I very much appreciate that. Thank you so much. So yes, it's going to Kim for writing down what I think is going to be part of the final memory challenge, and I think that's what's going to separate the winner. That's why they're going to win, because they're going to win that final memory challenge. When everybody's sitting there, they're going to win because of all these notes the superfan has been taking. So that's why I'm giving it to her. And if you don't like it, I don't care, Joey. All right, so
it's your award. You give it out the way you just.
Obviously not. You want to argue with me, but anyway.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
Play with these. All right, Jen, let's go.
I always try to have something not repeat, but since 2 of you already repeated, I'm just also going to repeat. The moment between Ryan and Dusty is my love out loud, not a laugh out loud this week. That one also, it moved me. It brought me to tears. It reminded me of a moment in Hong Kong where before Phil told us what place we were in, Christy and I were like, this could be it. And I just stopped and I hugged her before we found out where we were. And it is so hard in the race to take those moments because you feel like every second counts and you shouldn't stop for anything. But it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And they just had this moment to reconnect and take it in and appreciate where they were. And it brought me to tears. So
nice.
And they both had matching socks.
And Jen, I'm pretty sure that moment you just talked about got my seal clap as well between you and Christy.
All right, next week, 2-hour finale. First starting off in Lisbon, Portugal, and then heading off to LA. We see Kim and Penn messing up twice, which could show their doom here. Arun can't row, and Natalia confirms that. There's some reproduction of sound effects or something from famous Amazing Race clips, because we see the watermelon to the face and some sort of reproducing of sound effects from Raquel and Kayla. We got a bunch of people smashing piñatas with some mask on their face. Ryan and Dusty are coming for blood in first place, so obviously they catch up. And the finale is at the LA Galaxy Stadium. Did you guys pick up anything interesting from this, the bonus footage over the coming next week?
I feel like it's a little bit of a spoiler. I feel like that watermelon challenge isn't going to be in leg 10. I'm just going to leave it at that. So
you
if
think
no one knows,
a final memory challenge of some sort?
I do.
Okay, so there is no memory challenge for this season. It's just an overall type of final challenge. Interesting.
That's what I think that was. I don't know, but that's what I think that was. And
obviously we don't know.
Say the person's names that were in that clip. So if people don't want to know, they don't have to go watch it.
Oh, it was Raquel and Kayla. I said it already.
Justin,
I said it already.
The purpose of what I just said.
What? So what? You think they're going to be there by themselves? 0% chance they're doing the final task by themselves.
I love watching this go down right now. I love it.
All right.
I can't wait for you to see the show.
She's like, I know the answers. You guys are so wrong.
I'm not saying anything.
At least they're all saying, everyone in chat is saying you're just sitting there with a poker face.
She does have such a poker face.
I'm doing my best because I love what all the things you guys think about. I love it. I'm enjoying this.
Everyone is so far. Well, there was one question that a bunch of people asked in chat, Elise, is how you picked Phil, how you got to Phil.
Okay. Okay. So originally we were trying to figure out how the host would be on the show. And maybe we thought that person would have to leapfrog. So I was looking originally for two people, maybe a man and a woman. And I was looking through all these VHS tapes. Yes, VHS. And I was looking at reporters, people that were adventure people. And just nobody was coming to the top. Men, women, all different, teams, two people skipping all this other stuff. And there was a person that worked on our show called Terry Castagnola, who had worked with Phil Kogan on another show in New Zealand, or just out of New Zealand. And he said, I want you to take a look at this guy named Phil Kogan. So I put the VHS tape in and I was like, that is our host. And I shared that with Bert. Bert had seen it also. And the two of us completely agreed. And we had it down to like 2 or 3 people, but I always felt like Phil was the right person for the show. He's just so easy-going. He loves adventure, person that could easily travel, and he's just really easy to work with. He's fun. He doesn't take himself too seriously. He's not a prima donna. He's just a great guy, and he's always been that person. So It came through when we were watching the VHS tape. So. Somebody handed me his tape. Yep.
That's so cool.
Have you ever met any of the other hosts from the other Tower versions?
International seasons? Like how much into those
Alan
international
Wu.
seasons? Yeah.
I've met Alan Wu, and I've also spoken to the host of the Canadian series,
John Montgomery.
John, yeah, yes.
Yes.
So those two I have, but then the Australian version I have not. But I went to Australia to set up the format for them when they first came back a few years ago. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, I don't want to keep you. You can go. We're almost done here.
I have to go. Yes. I'm so sorry.
Yes. No, go.
It was such a pleasure, Elise. Thank you so much.
You hung out for 2 hours. This has been the absolute best show.
Thank you so much.
I think all of you guys are amazing. I'm so fortunate to have met all of you through the show. I think you're all wonderful people, and thank you for, continuing to, get people excited about the show and doing this. This is so important, and you're our biggest fans, and because of you, we have more fans. So thank you so much.
This is the show for super fans. So thank you so much. We'll see you on All Stars because we all expect to be invited.
We'll see that. Okay. All right, guys. Take care.
Bye, Elise. Oh my God, how awesome was that? Yeah, this is gonna throw everybody's head face in different places, but Jesus, how cool was that?
That was amazing. I still am a little boggled by this.
I was fangirling.
Last week. Justin was about to just drop the announcement. I was like, Justin, please make sure this is real first.
Oh, you don't know how many times I emailed her, and today, literally, we went back and forth
We're still on air, right?
Yes, we went back and forth 10 times on email. Just confirming. I'm like, can I ask you about this? I don't want to step on your toes. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Can we talk about this? So I sent her the list, a ton of questions, but she was actually super excited. She's like, I love that fans and super fans still do this type of thing after 30 something seasons, and it's great to know that we still have this effect on people. And obviously, I mean, it's been awesome, and I can't believe that she hung out that long. That's actually really cool. All right, so let's go through some bonus footage and then we can get out of here. Arun and Natalia found their tower, but it took them 30 to 60 minutes to find a parking spot. It's in bonus footage. Kim has an awesome blister on her finger. I think I have a picture of it here now that Elise is out of that box up there. There you go. Kim's got an awesome blister on her thumb just from turning over those rocks. Dusty's gloves are shredded. Every little he had gloves and they're all just shredded. Everybody's knees are tore up that we see. Actually, Penn talked to everybody sitting in the stands about taking a penalty and moving on from that task. But
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, Kim said she would never do that because she promised her kids that she would never take a penalty. And the super fan in her, obviously that's 4 hours, man. Unless everybody's going to do it, even if everybody's going to do it, man.
Well, if everyone's going to do it, what's going to happen is one team is going to deeply regret that. And it's one of four, right? And I don't want to be that one of four. Right. I'd rather lose on my own merits. I'd rather lose that I couldn't find the coin or that mom couldn't find the coin than to take a shot in the dark.
We had a moment like that in our season, leaving Africa, where there were two flights and one was on a really not great airline and the other was on like a fancy airline. I can't remember the details now. And the fancy airline was going to land later than the budget one. And there was like conversation around trying to see if everybody would just go for the like nice cush airline thing. And it's like one of those where you can't risk somebody just not doing it and then three of you doing it and one person not, and you ending up being on the outside of a decision like that and having it just totally bite you in the butt. Like you got to race.
A quick fun story. I think there was an airline called Cathay Pacific, which is one of the best airlines and most luxurious airlines in the world. We didn't know anything about that. And we decided to book a flight on a different airline. And our camera guy and sound guy, after we booked it, were like, dude, do you know that Cathay Pacific is the best airline you could possibly fly on? They give you this, they give you that, they got first class. And I was like, dude, I didn't know, man. I'm so sorry. So I gave them our seats and made sure that they had the nicer seats. But now we know Cathay Pacific is one of the best airlines. Let's see, run through this. Kim, after she felt so bad when she found her rock that she went and showed the other two teams what it looked like, what the rock looked like, and what type of rocks that they should be looking for, and how the coin was underneath. Raquel has a lot of stick shift driving issues. They drove right past Mamo's, which are obviously where they had to eat the souvlaki. They drove past that, but Mamo's wasn't there. Arun and Natalia got lost. Arun and Natalia think that the theater task is going to be singing in Greek. They were going to have Natalia do the task. Arun winded up doing it. Raquel and Kayla talk about being the fourth girl team to ever win the race. You can check out those bonus footage. Raquel and Kayla had a hard time finding the Mark Park spot for Socrates, which a lot of teams did. Kim and Penn run around of almost 5 miles this leg. They actually ran down a back alley somewhere, and in the bonus footage that Penn does not want anyone to see, he goes off into the woods and takes a leak while Kim is talking to the camera. So he did stop along the race to go for a leak, which is something you should never do. Penn did the math, 100 minutes. Okay, Kim and Penn were about 20 minutes behind Raquel and Kayla. Kim's wrist is still messed up to this day because of that roadblock.
I believe it.
Turning over those rocks. Still messed up. All right.
Imagine when you clean your kitchen floor, right? You're on your hands and knees for like 5 minutes. And when you stand up from that, you're hurting. I can't imagine doing that for 2 hours.
What is on your floor?
I mean,
what's on your floor?
I mopped the fucking thing. I'm not on my hands and knees. What is he, like scrubbing the decks?
Yeah, I like my house clean, Joey.
Dude, he's a doctor. You know he keeps his stuff like
clean.
You can eat off those floors.
Have people for that. Don't you have people to clean your house?
Oh, he's not one of those doctors.
Just don't live with me.
All right, and one question that I do have to address, Justin, you've talked about how much that you're a super fan, or how much a super fan Kim Holderness is, and you've talked about your confidence about beating any team that you are lined up against, and feeling very confident that there's no team that can beat you in the race. What would be your confidence level if you saw Kim and Penn Holderness on the starting line? I think that they are very much like me and Diana, and they, of all the teams in the history of the race, Eric and Jeremy and Kim and Penn would be the only two teams that I would ever worry about. So there you go. You wouldn't worry
about Christy and Jed?
No. They're great, but again,
pretend I'm not here.
No, they're both. If I'm talking to you without you being here, they both come from the same type of environment. They both do the same things for a living. They're both very similar.
Justin, I feel like I got to take you down a notch right now.
Go for it. This is what.
It doesn't matter where do we all come in? We all came in second, except for James Earl, and that's not a slight against James Earl and Mom.
I'm not saying that you should be worried about me and Christy, but what you just said about us is very untrue.
Hey, listen, a lot of things I say are untrue. These are just things that these are just things that I believe, and this is
Jen,
the confidence.
This is Jen. My name is Justin. I'm completely full of shit. But
no, I'm not full of shit
believe.
because I believe these things wholeheartedly. This is just how I look at them. Like, I would love to see you guys there. Don't get me wrong. If there was a best of the best season, I think you would definitely be one of those teams on the show for sure. Would I be worried about it? No, because I think that we have.
That's how you would beat them.
Huh?
Your hubris is going to be the downfall.
It could be, absolutely.
It has been already.
I would be worried about lining up against Kim and Penn too. However, I do feel like this race it's still a little bit different. They haven't been fully exposed to the race. There's also they're really, really strong at navigation, which worked out extraordinarily favorably for them here.
Right.
Learning how to manage a cab, learning how to know when you got to get the out of a cab. Like there's different things that we haven't seen in this season, but they are phenomenal. Penn is his brain is.
Yes.
They are excellent when they are in complete control, Jen. You're 100% right.
Right.
When it's out of their control, when the stress level goes through the roof, what are we going to see? We haven't seen that. Jen, that's perfect. You're 100% right.
Yeah. So, but again,
not to knock them because they're a great team.
I'm one of those Michael Jordan, LeBron James, my mindset of Kobe Bryant. Like, when I'm on the floor, I'm the best player. And until you prove me wrong, I'm going to always believe I'm the best player. And that's the way winners believe. Like, when you skied, when you were in the X Games, did you be like, oh, I'm scared of that girl? Or you were like, no, I'm going to beat that girl's ass when I get on the slopes, right? You have to have that mindset.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your mentality. I'm really not. Because I think all of us have to have that where we have to believe we can beat.
Nobody wins a gold medal without believing that they're the best at what they do.
I agree.
So you have to have that belief. And if I went in doubting myself,
to have confidence, not cockiness.
It's only cockiness if you can't back it up. Second
place, you mean?
So let's talk about that. Did they beat me or did we lose? There's a big difference.
But something happened that was out of your control. We haven't seen that with Kim and Penn.
No, it was totally in my control. But I made a stupid mistake, and we fell behind by an hour, and they beat us by 12 minutes. So let's. What does that mean? It was 48 minutes that we made up just by doing the task. But anyway, let's get out of here. Do you guys have anything before I go? Hey, you gonna say hi?
No. Somebody asked a question in the chat. Billy was texting me, and I have no idea what the question is. So.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. I tried to get back to you. I didn't see it. It was would you come back for the Amazing Race or for the new challenge race that's coming up on CBS? Someone asked that.
CBS The Challenge is going to feature people from Love Island, from Big Brother, from Survivor, and Amazing Race.
Oh,
so I don't even know anything about it.
Probably go on that. I don't know about it yet.
I think you'd be beastly.
But I'm pretty competitive.
You would destroy that show.
The only Amazing Racer to ever compete on a show is Jenny Wu, and the worst casting ever. Like,
wait, is that MTV's The Challenge?
Yes,
it's getting rebranded and brought to CBS.
Oh yeah, no. What's her name from My Season was on that too.
Who?
Long hair, don't care. The model girl.
Yeah, that's the only girl that was on. And
she was Jenny Wu.
No, it's not Jenny Wu. It's Jennifer.
Jen Leasy.
Jen Leasy. She was the only one to go for Amazing Race, and she was the first boot. Of course she is. She's beautiful. She's a sweet girl, but competing on the challenge, that is like head to head with like really strong people doing crazy tasks. Like, you gotta be in good shape for that. And I've only heard of one team, Amazing Race team, that's been asked, and I don't think that's the best casting if that's true. Of the team that I heard. I'll tell you guys behind the scenes if you want, but I think if they're going to pick a team like from our season, it should be somebody like Tanner and Josh, or people like young, fit, in shape. Like, that's a really, really physically tough show. But anyway, that's it.
That's it.
All right, guys, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for hanging out for 2 hours and 12 minutes and for dealing with my technical difficulties that happened in the beginning. I feel slightly embarrassed, but I think overall we had an incredible show. And thank you, Joey, James Earl, Jen. You guys are great co-hosts, and I appreciate you. time is the most valuable thing you have, and for you guys to spend any of it here truly means the world to us. You can see how much I nerd out. I'm a super fan. I always will be a super fan, and I'm glad I get to talk to other super fans about it. So thank you so much for spending your time here. It's very much appreciated, and we will see you next week for the double finale. Hasta la vista. Hope you guys enjoy.